Hello and welcome again for another video overview and demonstration. Today we're not going to be doing the previous GPT Pocket product I was doing. Instead, we're going to be reviewing in the 2020 Corolla Le Upgrade version, the ApplePie Mini. Now, what is the ApplePie Mini? If you already don't know, and if you somehow found your way into this video without knowing what it is essentially a little Android box that takes over your Apple CarPlay functionality in your vehicle, and it essentially makes it run a full Android OS system in the screen, which implies that you can run any apps such as YouTube, Google, Prime, Maps, you name it. Essentially, if it runs on Android, you can run it here. Now, bearing in mind the CPU limitations of it. Now, in order for it to plug in, all you really need is to essentially provide it a USB powered connection. I've already mounted mine here in this conspicuous spot, just so that way I can leave it here consistently 24/7, and I can just take it off with Velcros if I need to. I'm not really going to demonstrate what the device itself is visually. You can probably see that in much better videos than this one. However, it's essentially a 64GB of internal storage device. It's capable of accommodating a SIM card and micro SD. And essentially it just needs to be powered via USB, has no battery of its own, meaning it relies completely on the car power. Now I've already mounted mine in here. I found it was a really good spot, so if in case anyone sees the vehicle from the outside, they're not really able to tell much of anything, so I guess they're not gonna get any funny ideas. So yeah, moving on, I'm gonna demonstrate how it works, what are the pros and cons of it. Wireless Android Auto. I'm not going to be showing CarPlay, unfortunately, just because I don't have an iPhone. Now, if you know, the 2020 Corolla does not have Android Auto functionality, so if you don't have Android Auto and you're looking for a solution, this is amazing because it unlocks that, as Toyota never released a retrofit for North American users, such as myself. And that really aggravated me because I always expected to have Android Auto in this car eventually, since a retrofit didn't seem too far-fetched, but alas, we never got it. So, with that being said, let's go and test out the device. To start, it essentially just needs power, which means you can essentially just start it in accessory mode or start your engine, whatever you prefer. And once that does provide power to the device, a couple of lights should come on, showing that it has been given power. You can see them quite clearly in the dark. The red light implies it's getting powered. The blue one implies the CPU is starting to process and crunch. So if you see the blue one flickering, that means it's getting power and running as usual. I'll get back to the lights later on, just because I'm going to cover some update things. But yeah, as you can see, here is the phone part, where if you connect your phone via Bluetooth, it will show your contacts. This is going to become CarPlay, as this device runs off CarPlay, and this projection part needs to be enabled, as you can see there. This was not a good start. This is supposed to happen, and just because I ran my car recently, I find maybe the capacitors or something holds on to power. I'm not too sure why, but it sometimes just does that when you restart the car recently. And it's gonna go ahead head through the whole process. So in this particular case, the projection's off. Provides this message here, and essentially when the device itself takes over, you can know it worked because it says no music files found, and it just takes over, and you'll see an Android screen, this screen, which shows it's loading. I'll get to that white spot later. And yeah, this device just takes over your interface and pretends it's an iPhone. So you're not modifying anything with the car. You're simply just providing it what the car thinks is an iPhone, and voila. You get all the functionalities. This is not how it comes out of the box. I've already changed a couple of things. You can change your screensaver. You can change the way the apps are arranged. I've already downloaded a couple, and I'll explain what a couple of these can be used for, how they run in the car. This box has built-in GPS, so if you want it just even for Google Maps, I found it to be an amazing device, and it's capable of completely functioning independent of your phone. You can have a phone connection, but it's not necessary. I found, in fact, sometimes it can be relieving not to have the phone, because you can save on data, you can download your maps offline. And I'll go ahead and demonstrate how this works, just because some people have had questions how it actually interacts with the Corolla. So yeah, let's move on to that ahead. So, moving on ahead, essentially this is regular Android, assuming you wish to rearrange your screens. These buttons here, they still function completely as normal. The car itself is not aware it's plugged into an Android box. It still thinks it's a regular iPhone, so you can take advantage of this, because that means your regular audio can still continue to function. You can continue to play AM radio, FM radio, any inputs you may have. You can continue to play aux, whatnot, and it functions completely as normal. There are some settings that need to be tweaked in the ApplePie, just because out of the box There have been some bugs which have caused issues in the function of this, which I will get at shortly. If you wish to skip these technical details, I'm going to leave the detailed descriptions in the description as to what I'm going to be covering for the aspect of the video. I don't think this will be a short video. And I will also cover some technical aspects at the end, because this device needs to be updated if you get it for the 2020 Corollas. For some reason, the Bluetooth out of the box refused to pair, so there has been a fix released by Exploder, which is the manufacturer of the box. That solution is necessary for it to actually display on the car. Previously, it didn't pair to the Bluetooth connection, meaning that the device did not connect. It detected an Apple CarPlay connection was on, but it did not connect, which at first caused me a little bit of panic. I thought it didn't work, but no, it actually does have the ability to update and fix the issue pretty simply. So with that being said, I'll move on ahead to demonstrating how this works. So the device itself, it's a full Android, as I mentioned once again. So you can give it Bluetooth and you can give it Wi-Fi. If you wish to provide internet to this, you have three ways actually of running it. The first one is you can just set up a regular hotspot with your phone, just as you would do phone-to-phone connection, and that data will actually be just fine. The thing has its own GPS and whatnot, so it can continue to operate as usual. But if you wish to do something more direct, you can also give a SIM card to the device. It does have a slot which has been covered on other channels, Apple CarPlay Life. I'll leave a detail in his description. Now, I particularly know that in Canada we don't have the required frequencies for this device. There's a slot there for micro SD, another one for the SIM card. So I cannot really run with the SIM card as far as I'm concerned. They don't have 4G support here, and if it did work, it would be quite slow. So therefore, we're not going to be testing that out today, but it is there. If you're in another region that supports the proper bandwidth, you should be fine then. You can consult the spec sheet of the device. It should tell you what it supports and what it doesn't support. Now, as per the other aspect, you can also connect the regular Android Auto functionality. This device acts as a proxy, so if you wish to do it, it only supports wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. You do need a certain minimum requirement for the phone to be able to provide wireless Android Auto. As long as that's met, you should be fine. So this SpeedPlay app is essentially what takes care of it. It creates a Wi-Fi hotspot of its own that will do a Wi-Fi direct connection with whatever Android device you have. The only requirements that you need to pair the car via Bluetooth to your phone. I'll show it in an example here. I have a Google Pixel 1 here. I'm going to use this as a demonstration device. It's currently running Android 10. So it's a perfect example of how it works. You need to make sure your Wi-Fi connection's on for the Wi-Fi direct connection, and it has to be previously paired to the Bluetooth signal. So in this particular case, ApplePie, and once it connects, the device will realize once you open this app that you want to run Android Auto, and it's going to do connecting. Just gotta wait. This can also be automated, so if you have your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on and this is the only phone you're running, the car will actually pair it automatically. You just need to wait about a minute or so, but it's gonna run. Here you go, wireless Android Auto, no wire. This takes a minute to load. My apologies for that. I had to crop that part just because it kept showing my address, and unfortunately I cannot show that when I press the search bar or when it auto opens Android Auto. That being said, here you go. It is running Android Auto, as you can see, and if you look into the phone, it does show here Android Auto connected to your car. So the phone is connected and paired. This is how it looks. The Corolla display, it's actually single touch, but it can work it pretty well. This blue dot will continue to show here. If you haven't watched other videos, what that is, it's essentially a master button for the ApplePie Mini itself, trying to essentially give you control over what the device itself can do. None of these buttons actually work with it. They continue to work as normal. So this one sends you to the home, or you can go back. You can press map, it sends you back, or you can even press phone. That one does the same thing once they're binded. So same function. Seek and track to work for video playback or audio playback to continue to work as regular soundtrack or video fast forwarding or rewinding buttons. The apps button becomes useless because unfortunately Entune sucks. Audio continues to work as normal. It will take you to the regular interfaces. However, when you're on the ApplePie, it has its own interface, as you can see, so it's essentially providing its own audio. If you have to listen to YouTube or maybe another app, or you just want regular audio to come in from here, you must leave it on Bluetooth connection. If you wish to listen to radio, that continues to work. Minding there's a bug that needs to be addressed before you do that, but it continues to work as normal, as you can see here. So yeah, it works completely fine. Going back into the device, so this is essentially how Android Auto works. It's the same functionality as you would have normally, so I'm not going to go ahead and demonstrate that so much for the meantime. Moving on to other things, I'm also going to show Google Maps, which in the regular one, there's a very important thing. This device can support its own navigation, however, it has an issue with Google Assistant. I have it set up correctly, so all I need to do is press here, hold it for 3 seconds, and Google Assistant will come up. Now, assuming you have proper internet or data connection, it will hear everything you're saying. As you can see, it's listening in right now, and it uses the car's microphone, but I am not providing a data at the moment, which is very simple. If you wish to fix this, you can just go to the home once again, and here's my device. I'm gonna go ahead, and I'm gonna provide it a data connection. All you need to do is have the hotspot turned on, your data on, and you need to be paired to Bluetooth, so the phone can still remain connected and provide notifications, or you can just use the hotspot. You don't need to provide Bluetooth. Now, as a first time setup, you do need to pair it to the Wi-Fi as you would with a regular iPhone, Android, whatnot. So find your hotspot, give it the password. In this case, I made it easy so I can just connect it. And there you have it. Anytime the car detects the hotspot, it should be able to connect on its own, and that gives you full access to the internet. So in this case, these two light up. If you have Bluetooth, it's grayed out. If it's off, in this example, let's turn it off. It grays out. If we turn it on, takes a couple of seconds, but it will detect it and light up. There you have it. And just like an Android, you can manage it from here as well. Now, I do not want to run Android Auto at the moment, so I'm just gonna back out. But assuming that you wanted to browse and maybe watch a video or something, you go on the YouTube app. Turn on your Wi-Fi. And there you have it. Works completely as normal. Completely works with the Bluetooth input, so you should be fine with that. And if you wish to back out of the video, you can use regular inputs. I have YouTube Premium, so it can play in the background, but nonetheless, that's completely up to you if you make that functionality work. The device can actually make multi-screen usage, so if you wish to run Google Maps or something, as you can see here with the spot, multitasking is enabled, just as a regular Android. Or you can do split screen window. So in this case, let's grab YouTube. And let's grab another app, for example. Let's clear them all. So let's grab, in this particular case, maybe Netflix. I don't have a Netflix subscription, so I won't be able to show it, but the point is that you can run 2 apps at the same time, whatever you wish to do with that. And by the way, this brings me to an important point. I have heard that the newest versions of Netflix do not work with this device for some reason. Maybe there will be a patch that fixes that, maybe not, but you may want to reconsider not downloading the latest version of Netflix. And should you by any chance do that and it fails to work, there is a fix. The OEM made sure to include this repository where you can essentially gather the factory apps in their original state. So if you see Install Manager here, here's the main apps that come with this device. You can always reinstall them as the APKs come from the box. So you should be fine on that. This is essentially what it does. And moving on, I'm going to be covering another topic onto how this can be improved and function as well. Now, before we go ahead any further, there's something that needs to be said in regards to the device's settings. From the box, as you know, this device is compatible with your microphone for the vehicle, but you must ensure to fix a setting in particular that took a while to figure out. We thought it was an issue with the box at first. It wasn't. You must go on your Google Maps or in the general assistant settings, and you must ensure that the setting is changed for the Google Assistant. Here you go. You go navigation settings. You can do whatever you want with those, but there's an important one that needs to be addressed. OK Google detection. You must turn this off. These two particular devices must be turned off, because if you leave them on, it continues to take over the functionality of your vehicle to use the microphone. In doing so, it will completely destroy your audio functionality the moment you hit navigate on Google Maps, as the car thinks that you're constantly trying to use the Google Assistant. So it'll provide it control 24/7. That's terrible because your videos will sound terrible, your audio will sound terrible, and it completely disables radio or additional inputs such as Bluetooth, aux, FM, AM, you name it, Sirius XM, if that's what you have. So you need to disable these two settings here. This is essential. I will put in the description exactly how to get to them. I will have to crop out some parts if they capture my personal details, so bear that in mind. So you might want to check the description if you do end up getting this device. Otherwise, this is kind of irrelevant. So yeah, just something to keep in mind before running this device, because this is important. Also, something that needs to be said about Google Maps, or generally the usage of this in general. This device, unfortunately, although it's completely functional with all Android abilities, the screen of the Corolla is not. Whatever the Corolla uses, it's single touch capacitive display, meaning you cannot pinch or make things smaller or bigger. There's a solution, however. Android Auto accessibility already comes accounted with this. So instead of trying to pinch, you double tap, but you hold the second tap. Let me show. 1, 2. You gotta do that fast. All of a sudden, you can do this, which takes care of that little problem right there. It's not the most convenient thing, but it definitely can be bypassed. So this doesn't just work with Google Maps, it works with any application in general. So if you need to pinch in or expand something, you can definitely use that to make the issue go away. Once again, not the best thing, but it definitely will get you out of a situation if you need that function. Aside from everything, I find this device to be extremely useful and extremely helpful for the car. It definitely enhances the experience a lot more. You can install just about any app, including Waze. I have the dashcam app, so I can actually sync it directly to my dashcam and pull up any footage if I want to review something, download it, whatnot. YouTube Music, you got Chrome, I got Prime Video. I uploaded a video of a picture of myself on Reddit watching 2.5 Men there, so definitely people I think can see it works. You can change some accessibility things such as the keyboard if you need to type something, although personally I left it as normal because I find sometimes it does undo that setting. So I just figure let's not bother with that. I mean, you can use the voice commands with this thing to actually type. I'm going to show an example here. It does have the Google Assistant working, so look up CarPlay Life on YouTube.
Opening YouTube.
There you go. Now, of course, you cannot really, or if you can, I'm not too familiar how to use the Google Assistant at times, so you can definitely get creative with the commands. I mean, as long as it can detect, it can work them. So yeah, and here's how the keyboard looks. Once again, it's single touch, but I find it to be fairly responsive. If you want to be a little bit more creative about it, you can also use a stylus, a capacitive stylus. It completely works just fine. And there you have it. You can also use a secondary Bluetooth accessory for the vehicle. So it must slave the connection. So the vehicle itself is Bluetooth is actually disabled because it connects only to one device, in this case the ApplePie. This is required for CarPlay purposes, so you do lose the car's Bluetooth. However, this device does have a secondary Bluetooth connection it can use. You can make sure to put in a gaming controller. You can make sure to put in some sort of an additional device. In this particular case, I do have a remote that I can show here. There you go. I don't think it's paired. Let me check. There we go. You can get creative with the extent of what you can and cannot do with this. So you can go back. The speed is only as fast as your data, unfortunately, and while I don't have the best data plan, the point remains it can basically do the same functions you would otherwise do. So if you have a really good data plan, this is definitely something that would work amazingly. Now, one other thing to consider is the resolution of this is around 480p. I think a little bit less than that actually. It says it in the owner's manual. I can cite the specific page later on with the specific resolution, but it's not going to be the most resolute thing. However, if you do need to add more brightness, I'll turn on the night lights, for example. I'm going to turn off the lights so you can see what I'm talking about. It looks completely fine in the night, but if for some reason you need your night lights on and this becomes too dim, there's a radio here in the Corolla that you can use to get out of that problem. If you pay attention there, is the dimness adjuster. Now, when you generally move it, it doesn't do much, but if you move it to the top, you'll hear it click, and in doing so, you provide extra brightness, almost daytime running light brightness level, which is something that you can definitely leverage if you're in the nighttime and you need more brightness. Something to consider, although it does make your dash a little bit brighter, as well as the car in general becomes brighter, as you can see here. So yeah, that's another solution for that problem. It is worth mentioning that this is not the first device of this kind to come to the market. We previously had another one under another company called Joy Auto, if I'm not mistaken. They're also a Hong Kong based company, it would appear, or something of the kind. I'm not too sure. They released a device that looked very similar to the ApplePie Mini in the functionality. It looked completely different, and it also required a separate GPS component to be plugged into the vehicle. Me personally, I do not like tampering with such things on these modern vehicles because electricals nowadays are very flimsy, so definitely something to avoid. The ApplePie avoids that by having self-built GPS, just like your phone does. So something that definitely sold me on the device, if you care for that. So yeah. Another thing that I did want to show, because it definitely works amazing here, is the Android Auto for Phones app. It's a match made in heaven with this product because, as you can see here, you can use your Bluetooth phone and Bluetooth music from whatever phone you plug in. In this particular case, I'm plugged into the Pixel, and there's also I'm plugged into let's say another device, the Bluetooth remote you saw earlier. If you connect to the Pixel, in this case, which is my phone, you can actually get the calls to come in through, and they would basically show an alert when you're getting a call and whatnot. You'd also get text message notifications. However, I did find that it does not show regular notifications on the phone, such as applications, Messenger, possibly WhatsApp, or general applications and such. They will not show, so that is one con that you may want to be aware of. But That being said, if you go and open the Android Auto app, as you can see, it completely works fine. Now, I'm gonna try and hide my address there. I'm gonna boot up the maps. There we go. So yeah, the device completely works independent of your phone. You can also download the offline maps, which I chose to do, so I do not need data, nor do I need any kind of a connection for this. The device is completely independent once again, with GPS. A very good one at that, and if you must check your GPS functionality, or at least how well calibrated it is, this U Center app that came built in is especially useful for that. It will show you the signal strength, as you can see here. Now, I do not understand these charts, so if you do, feel free to educate yourself in the matter and maybe look into what kind of signal you're getting, but I think it doesn't really make much of a difference at that stage. All you need to basically care for is it works. So yeah, that's basically it. I've already arranged my apps. Something to keep in mind is that this is a little bit difficult to arrange, but once you get the hang of it, it's okay. You press this button that never goes away. These are your recent apps. This cannot be arranged in your own taste. It's just the recent apps. So the GPS, Maps, and Android Auto, as you saw earlier. If you press this, it'll expand everything and you can go into them directly. Or if you long press, you can uninstall the apps right from here. If you wish to rearrange this, you cannot just overlay another app. An example here, you long press. You cannot just superimpose and move it around. You need to create an empty spot. So in this case, if I wanted to change something here, move it into an empty spot, grab this app, and place it there, and there you have it. That's how you arrange the interface in here. So you can get creative. This is my preferred setup. These are the apps I use the most, and you can definitely have it there. Although I don't have Netflix, I leave it there so I can flex any passengers that my car can run Netflix. So yeah. And finally, before we go on a test run, so I can show you how it operates when you're driving, be it for YouTube or maps and whatnot, I must mention it is essential that when you get this device, as I mentioned, you have to update it for the Corollas. Not necessarily for other cars, but definitely for the Corollas. It is essential that you check this app after the update, as in my particular case, it required some sort of an activation code for the service. This activation code you cannot get for some reason, so you have to contact the OEM for them to email you one. So you'll have to provide them a screenshot of your QR code. There's a specific option that you must pick. Now I'll make sure to include a picture in the video when I have to edit it, so you can see how it looks, because it's a little bit weird to describe. And you can message Exploder via email. I'll make sure to leave their details as well as what you have to do, and they can send you your activation code, which sometimes may happen after updates. Just keep that in mind, as it can be a bit annoying. So you need this for wireless Android and Apple CarPlay, so something to consider as well before we go any further. Now, before we head out for a drive, first I'm going to show how this device itself handles the drive. I'm then going to move on to Android Auto as an example. However, in this particular case, the way you can use it, you can go straight onto Google Maps. I personally don't like it because the just drive mode was taken out. So if you just want to drive and not put an address, it doesn't really do you the best favors. Waze is better for that. But you can solve that by getting Android Auto for cars, or for phones I should say. And that definitely takes care of that problem. I've already booted up mine, as you see here. So yeah, it's already ready to go. I'm currently in the middle of a Walmart, so it doesn't really know the road, but it will definitely update. It's currently getting internet and data, but as mentioned, you can get the offline maps and this wouldn't be an issue. So in this particular case, let's try using the Google Assistant. Take me to a Tim Hortons.
You've got some choices. Which would you like?
The closest one.
Got it. Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons may be closed by the time you arrive.
That's an example of it. I don't think it took in my proper destination for some reason, but it definitely works as normal. I'm not too sure what happened there, but that's an example. Or you can use, as mentioned earlier, grab a destination, let's say here,
Should reach your destination by 2:42 a.m.
navigate. Now, in this case, I'm gonna go take it out for a test drive and I'm gonna show you how the interface looks. I can zoom out as you can see here. So in this particular case, let's go a little bit up the street.
You should reach your destination by 2:43 a.m. West toward Milani Boulevard.
Now, I've already punched in a dummy address and I'm gonna show an example of how the base Google Maps app runs while you're navigating, just as an example of how it works, as well as radio functionality and whatnot, as well as just as an example, I'm not gonna do this while driving just because obviously it's not the most appropriate thing to do, but if you have a passenger and you wish to entertain them, it can also work. You can put this in the background, it would completely work just fine, and I can continue to play YouTube. Maybe a specific video, and it will completely play in the background.
Forces with affair partner's wife to crush their affair.
And you can have YouTube playing in the
Welcome to
background.
Green Whale Channel. Today we are going to have some story.
Once again, I'm not going to be doing this during this drive just because it's not the most appropriate thing to do while driving, but if you have a passenger that's watching, at your own discretion, of course. Not going to provide any advice on that. But yeah, this is a demonstration. Let's go out for a drive and see how the maps and GPS handles. Let's go for a drive. And by the way, the reverse camera still continues to take over this, so if you have any interest in if it's going to impact it, then rest assured the device continues to function. Let's put some radio on. It continues to work, so if it's something you're interested in running, or you have your own audio from the ApplePie, or you have any kind of Sirius XM with the higher trims of the Corolla, that would continue to function.
300 meters, turn left onto Milani Boulevard.
And the device, even if you shut off the radio, continues to take over the input. So you can set it to give you alerts, give you voiced instructions or whatnot. Doesn't really matter. It will override whatever your car setting is, because at the end of the day, it's still the Maps application, so it provides full control in the vehicle, which is another reason why you have to disable that setting for the Google Assistant. Otherwise, the audio signal is going to be absolutely horrible, and your audio files are going to sound terrible as well. And you cannot use the radio function, so something you have to definitely make sure to address if you use this device.
Take the next left onto Milani Boulevard, then turn right onto Ontario 27.
And in case you're curious,
Take the next right onto Ontario 27.
This device has absolutely zero restrictions when it comes to working the vehicle. So theoretically, if I have a passenger on the side, they can continue to use this product as normal. They can take full control of anything from YouTube,
800 meters, turn right onto
audio
Zenway
files,
Boulevard.
anything in particular. So it doesn't have a restrictor like the Entune default system has, where it won't allow you to punch in directions, or it will not allow you to do other functions where they think that your distraction is going to be high. So something that if you're interested in as well, that's also something to consider. I find this GPS to be fairly accurate, so the speed is sometimes off by a couple of kilometers an hour, I find, so not always the most accurate, but
The next
definitely
right onto
functional.
Zenway Boulevard. Continue on Zenway Boulevard for 1.5 kilometers.
So yeah, there you have it. That's the Android Auto GPS function. I'm not going to continue the route just because I think that gets the point that it's actually fairly accurate. Next up, I'm going to move on to the Android Auto side of it and show how that works, because It's fairly similar. I personally prefer this one just because you don't have to seize phone functionality, but if that's what you're into, you can definitely use Android Auto or CarPlay normally. I'll show those next. Now, I've gone ahead and punched in the instructions and the address on Android Auto. Before I go ahead, I'm going to show you. This is regular Android Auto, as you can see here. My phone's already paired. It continues to work, so I'm not very familiar with Android Auto because this is all brand new to me. I never had it on this car. But if you already know how to use it, this is definitely something worth considering. All the apps are here, and now I'm already on maps, so I was navigating. So I punched in a dummy address once again, and we'll see how this works. So the vehicles tell me to turn right.
Continue for 1.5 kilometers.
Now, obviously you can set the Google Maps display to show differently. I personally like it when it follows the car, but I'm just showing an example of how it particularly works in this instance. It shows the speed limit, it shows the general address, it shows the potential for detours. You can even use the satellite images if you enjoy looking at the overhead view on top of you. I personally like that one a lot. But definitely something you can do. You can alter your routes, you can play with the settings, you can listen to Spotify. It all works. The only thing is, of course, you cannot wire in the phone, so if your phone's not compatible with wireless Android Auto, you're definitely out of luck in this one. But something that you can take advantage of. So if you never had this, at least this is a good workaround. And on top of that, you do get to use all the other applications that this thing comes with. So definitely a great purchase, and I would highly recommend it. Now, initially I anticipated tackling how to update the device in this video, but I'll attempt to do that in another one just because I think I'm running a little bit long on this one already. Essentially, the process itself boils down to downloading the update software into a micro SD card, and all you would need to do is literally insert it into the micro SD into the device, plug it in with any kind of power, either from your vehicle or from any wall brick.
400 meters, turn left onto Highway 50 Peel, Regional Road 50.
And once you do that, essentially, the device itself takes care of it. You would see the lights start changing, the flicker of the lights. The red light starts to become the flashing light instead of the solid one, and the blue light does the opposite. It also starts solid. So when you see that, it's essentially applying the update. Some of these devices come with a micro SD, but if not, it's only 1.3 gigabytes, give or take. My particular device, I found the August 24th update fixed it. Again, I will do a demonstration later on how to update it. It's a fairly simple process, but there's also a video that exists for the previous devices. The device itself auto selects the yes to the update option, so you don't need to see what the device is doing. So as mentioned, if your device also has issues with displaying the image on your Corolla, just like it did with mine, you don't need to worry. Just plug it into electricity and let the update do its thing. It will completely take around 10 minutes, give or take, and you can just plug it into your Corolla and the final setup should be completed.